So I'm spectating you right now, but I had to know. You and I have been talking about Nintendo Switch 2 and like the pre-order process, but even up and before that, like just up until that, so many things. Like I just feel like this is not your grandpa's like pre-order process, you know?
Oh,
So
oh,
ultimately though, you got one, right?
yes.
Yeah, and so
I'm locked in. I'm
yeah.
locked in.
Yeah, so you and I were chatting that night, and I remember you were talking like when it was over, you were like, "That was tense."
Yes.
Like that was the phrase you used. But
Yeah.
for me, I treated it like the battleground that I just kind of knew it was gonna be because I've been doing it with Pokemon cards sometimes, and so. I'm not crazy into Pokemon cards, but like my son will open some, and I'll open some, and so I'm down with it and stuff. But it's like trying to get the new set that came out in about September, or what was that? I think it was February actually, January. Right. It's called Prismatic Evolutions, and like this type of thing goes on all the time when you're trying to get those Pokemon cards, dude. It is crack, it's cocaine. Like it is so. You get the neckbeardiest of neckbeards, like waiting at Target. They'll stock the stalker, the restocker of the shelves. They'll like try to get her number. They try to find her car. They wait there at like 9 a.m., 8 a.m. for a 10:30 a.m. stocking. You know what I mean? And it's just to get one product of the cards and then resell them at like 3 times the price.
Man.
But it makes a situation where none of us can get it. Like, let's say I really wanted to get it. I can't unless I go to those links, So fuck having a job. I'm sorry for cursing people that are watching this. But like, God forbid I get a job. God forbid I have like a kid, something responsible.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
Ultimately, I was just trying to think like, what would be kind of things that you would say about, really you could say anything about the Switch 2, but like definitely the pre-order process because that's where we started with. But, there's so many things that I feel like you and I can riff off of and talk about.
Man, listen, yes. When I tell you, I kind of figured, okay, let me. My mind is just everywhere because you saw how the launch happened. The publicity in the beginning.
Yeah.
It was kind of messy. You know what I mean? We love Nintendo. We love Nintendo, but it was a messy start with the reveal and whatnot.
Yeah.
And people were talking about the price, the launch, and well, not the launch, but the reveal. It's a bit messy with Nintendo. We love Nintendo. Nintendo has our hearts,
Yeah.
but it was a bit messy. But people were talking about the price, and people were saying, oh, it's going to be like another Wii U and whatnot. So it got to a point I was like, well, maybe it's not going to be too hard for me to lock in my copy, but I still wanted to make sure I was awake and make sure I had my card information already set up for the different stores and whatnot. So the only thing I had to log in, put it in the cart, and go.
Yep.
And man, when I tell you, soon as 12, like you said, we were chatting with one another, and freaking Best Buy wasn't up, and then Target site was crashed, and then Walmart was like, dude, it was the most stressful thing like ever. Like I have never like dealt with something like this before ever. And oh, my card was freaking declining. Like my bank blocking my charge. I got through one point with Walmart, and then it didn't accept my payment because my bank thought it was fraud. And I was like, crap, I got so discouraged. I had to call my bank. I had to, they have a 24-hour line. I had to say, hey, you can lift this. I'm trying to pre-order
Nintendo Switch 2.
The Switch, yeah, game system. And they apologized, but they were just doing their job. It wasn't their fault. If anything, I appreciate them trying to, look out for your lord.
Yeah, they were looking out.
They were looking out. But dude, when I tell you, I was just like, it was stressful, man. But luckily, I had my app on my phone. I had Best Buy up on my laptop. I had another, site up, and I'm just trying to jump between the three, trying to see which one. And you remember we were in line in Best Buy.
Yep.
And Best Buy finally came up, and it kicked us out of line more than once.
Yeah, more than once.
And I was just, that's when I started feeling discouraged. I was like, you know what? I get it. Like, but I remember you were saying, stick with it. You've been through this before. You were giving me, great advice just to stick with it, keep trying. And on the app on my phone, because I read somewhere that sometimes the apps doesn't crash as bad as a website will. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
They want you to
And
have their proprietary stuff, so they want you to use the app.
yes, and so I had my Walmart app up on my phone, and at first it was saying the bundle was like not available. Then it was saying the regular Switch because when my card wouldn't accept the payment, it was for just the Switch alone without the bundle. 'Cause I was going to get whichever one I could get. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That happened, and then the regular Switch, without the non-bundle one wasn't available anymore. But then the bundle became available, and I was able to lock in. I got it, man. I was like, I was so lucky. I was able to get in.
Okay, so
It was
let's back up a little bit, all right? So in the pre-order process, you probably know who Kit and Krista are, right? Remember them?
yes.
Yeah, so they made a video about this too, and they were like saying the same
Oh,
thing as far as their banks thought it was fraud. They said other people's banks. So there's something going on with like the banks and the retailers that this looked very fraudulent for millions of Americans. You know what I'm saying? So that is crazy because I agree with you. You know, they're just doing their job. My bank said it after the charges, right? So the charges could go through, but they're like pending. And that's when they said, like, it was the next day entirely that the bank texted me because I have one that's like it's actually for like content creators. It's kind of a cool card. It's called Carrot, like Karat, like gold carrots. But
yeah.
anyway, Carrot, shout out to them. But yeah, so they like turned my card off the next day, but like the charges could go through if I approved them, which I did. You know, I was like, yeah, it's cool. But I told them too. I was like, dude, it's for the Switch too, like, you know. So
Yeah.
I explained it to them as well. But I was lucky, you know, it didn't shut down while I was trying to do it, right? Because that would have sucked, like you had to do.
Man. And it was crazy 'cause I literally had to call them. You know what I mean? I had
Yeah.
to get on wait for a representative because the automated system it wasn't giving you like a certain they were like, we noticed it was a charge. Was this legit?
Hmm.
Yes, but it still wasn't lifted. So I wanted to get to a representative, and they lifted it, man. And I had to go back in and hopefully try to get my system. And
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. So ultimately, the other component of this that I would say is the various different retailers, right? So these are the biggest of the big in America. So you think Walmart, you think Target, you think Best Buy. GameStop didn't opt until later on, right? So it was mainly those big three.
yes.
Now, of course, somebody in the comments could be like, wait, what about like Sam's? What about Costco? Yeah, we know, but we're talking about kind of like the main big three for us regular civilians, even though Wally and I got a Sam's Club. But anyway, so the point being is that they got all this money and whatnot, but yet still, they've experienced this with Pokemon cards. Like I said, each one of those retailers has been through this. And they implement the same exact crappy system, so it hasn't improved. Like, we've had all of 2025 so far, but even a little, maybe 2024, maybe.
Right.
The main Pokemon cards that people are going nuts over are this year, so since 2025, but I'm just saying. Pokemon cards, they've been a thing for a while, as in a thing being like people are ravenous about them. Of course, during the pandemic, lockdown life, like people was doing that too. But so yeah, the point being that like, you got this huge corporation, just like Walmart, for example, they cannot have like a better system. Best Buy, dude, that was crazy. Like Best Buy, to put you in the queue and to kick you out gets you such a weird, you almost have to just be defeated. You're just like, I'm defeated. Like, I'm not going to get it, And
Yes.
the problem with that thinking is that if maybe, I don't know if you were going to do it, Wally, if I didn't coach you through, or if you would have stuck with it, but you have to stick with it. You have to keep going, even if you're like, I'm defeated.
Yes, I was going to stick with it because I had to work the next morning. So I had to
Yeah.
get up. People don't know I still have a full-time job. I have an 8 to
Yeah.
5. I literally, it was 1 o'clock came. Then it was getting closer to 1:30, and I'm like, how long can I do this? You know what I mean? And I was going to stick with it as long as I could. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Until it really felt like there was no option because it. You saw how it was. It would like won't be available, but then it would become available again, and
Yes.
then okay, maybe I need to sit with it a little bit longer. And that was, with you, saying stick with it, and also saying that's what made me kind of keep
Stick it
going.
through. Yeah.
So yeah.
Ultimately, think of Pokemon cards being a less of a stock than this. So there's less, right? So Nintendo, I think, someone's gonna like flame me if they hear this, but like actually God bless them, because they did, I think, anticipate such a frenzy of people or whatever. They had to have been smart enough to know, and they've said Nintendo's very what's the word? So like they're very ambiguous sometimes, and then when they're not ambiguous, they're actually super clear. And so all I'm saying that for is that Doug Bowser actually did make a point to like comment and say, we've already shipped some units to America. Like that was a news story breaking that they've already done it, because they knew. And Nintendo, I think, got a little bit more ambiguous when it came to like, hey, we're trying to send, we know that this is going to be a big event, so we're trying to have supply to meet demand. You remember that? That was like some rough social media post.
Yes.
Yeah, so they said that long ago, kind of. And so the point of bringing all this up is just that this actually would have been like horrifying if they hadn't taken extra measures. And some people would say this was horrifying, and I get you. So maybe that's not the right word. It's just, I'm saying this would have been absolute death. Like, the people, Wally and I are both saying, hey, we got one, and we actually don't feel safe about it, Yeah, we got one. We feel mostly safe, but like it's not in our hands right now. So there's some things to worry about still. But
right.
Yeah, the point being though, this would be absolute like horrid. This would be worse than horrifying if they hadn't kind of taken those extra measures that Nintendo did, saying, yeah, we know that there's going to be a demand, so we got to make supply. So I'm just saying, this could have been actually worse. That's the crazy thing, right? Because it was pretty bad.
I was in third. What the? Okay, yes. I'm sorry.
I'm not focused on the race at all, even though I probably should, but we just have Mario Kart on, so we like are doing something while we talk about it, and because we love Mario Kart. But yeah, I mean, maybe we'll talk about Mario Kart World later, but I want to get through all this. There's a lot of different things that I feel and I think, and I feel like between you and me, we have like this sort of, you could call it knowledge, maybe, like not expertise, but like we just kind of know Nintendo, like the trends and stuff.
Yeah.
So to me, when I think about like, it was really nice to have the Pokemon card experience. It does make me a little bit jaded or whatever. Like I become sort of hardcore. I'm like battle hardened. I've been to war and stuff. Like that's how I feel with this, because I was sitting there trying to tell Shambler, and this was like his first time. A buddy of me and Wally, Shambler, he's actually kind of like, I would say, an unofficial extra member of Task Force, probably. Because we've gone through reorganizing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so Shambler's like kind of, maybe, we don't know how many members are in Task Force anymore. It's like me and Wally are the main two, and then I guess we got CK as Shambler and his wife maybe. But anyway, point being that Shambler's like, it seemed like he was kind of getting that feeling of defeat. You can't blame somebody for feeling that, right? Especially if this was like their first foray into this. I think other people that get it are Taylor Swift people. So the Swifties trying to get tickets from Ticketmaster and stuff, it's apparently goes like this,
Right. Yeah.
And so I think that they kind of get it too. Or maybe some communities that Wally and I don't know about. But yeah.
Right.
And so I was just saying that stuff because like I could see how someone would be like very defeated over it and like lose morale and maybe just quit trying. Like Shambler pretty much quit trying. He's like, I'm going to sleep, And you see that Wally and I ended up with pre-orders because we stuck with it.
Yeah.
We had to put ourselves through torture, man. We were like James Bond getting tied up in the chair and they threw fucking things at his balls and stuff. That was, Wally and I were getting it in the balls, son.
And I knew someone else that they got theirs pretty damn quick. You know what I mean? It's pretty quick. And like...
Are you saying excuse me when I already even talked about James Bond being naked in a chair, getting his balls hit?
But like legit, it was just like, man, it was crazy. And I was listening to another podcast, like when I work, and sometimes I like listening and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about, and this is like from a one of those gaming that's well known, and they're like, yeah, one of their people like were trying to pre-order theirs, and they weren't able to. You know what I mean? They never had a chance.
Man.
So it just lets you know how lucky we were to get ours. Another thing about me, I'm getting mine delivered, at my job. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
can. One, I live in an apartment, and
Yep. You don't want no porch pirate?
no, and then also, I don't, sometimes you have to sign for like a video game. You know what I mean? When I had got my PlayStation, I had to sign for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that day I actually got to be at work. I can't take off, whatnot. So it can't. I let our shipping and receiving, department know I'm have a package planned, around this date and whatnot.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, fine. They were like, just certain stuff like that, just let them know that it's okay for us to sign for it. So I literally had to call Walmart customer service to let them know, because
Yeah.
when I did the order, even though I have the right address, it has home up there and leave at door. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And so, I gave them a call and they were like, yeah, it's totally fine. But they also let me know that I couldn't cancel my order if anything, like, like they kind of put it out there before you even get to that point. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to cancel this order, you can't cancel it. You have to wait, get the product, and then return it.
Sheesh. Wow.
Like, maybe I am really locked in. You know what I mean?
That surprises me, actually.
So I'm like, okay, I think I'm good. But I just hope it arrives on time. Again, like I said, I still have to work that Thursday and Friday, and whatnot. But I'm excited for it, man. I can't wait.
Yeah, so something I told you, sorry, I'm still going through this sickness, but I've been sick for like 2 weeks. And so the Walmart specifically, they, said in social media that we'd deliver it to you by 9 a.m. And it could even be before that, but like by 9 a.m. on launch day. And so that's quite like a hefty thing to promise people, like to me, especially with an item this in demand. That's a really like hefty promise. So then you saw like, okay, well, the situation's being adjusted on the fly. Is that some people were actually getting Walmart's screenshots online that showed a different icon than Wally got. And so Wally got the good one. If you have like the icon that Wally had, which was like a bag, then you're getting your item on the day. But some people, because of where they're located or where their Walmart is, it has to go to the store from like, I guess, Central. And so then it goes to the store and then it goes out to you. And so like, I think that those are going to be up to June 11th. So it could be, 7th, it could be 8th, it could be 9th, anything up to the 11th of June. Whew. So yeah, that would kind of suck, wouldn't it? Because Wally was like, I'm so happy that mine's the correct one.
It was just that rascal. Yes, it was so. He literally tracked me down and hit me with that damn star. Like, man, it was just. I really couldn't believe that I got it. I had to keep like looking, did it really happen? Did I get the emails? Like, I got the email, and I'm like, I really got it. So then I went back and then pre-ordered my Pro Controller afterwards, because the main thing I wanted to get was the system. And I said I get the accessories afterwards. So I at least want to be locked in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so like I was definitely happy for you, but I was starting to get sad when you got it and I hadn't gotten it yet too, because I was like, I might be cooked. Like I was telling you over and over again, I think I might be cooked, but I'm still trying. It's again that same thing I mentioned before, which is you can feel very defeated by it. It's just, do you keep going with the torture? Or do you give up? And I was not gonna give up until like I just really knew there were no signs of life at all. But there was like still kind of just that tasty morsel. And so what ended up happening for me that I haven't explained is that, like Best Buy, they said that they was sold out, so it was like, okay, fuck. And so like I just thought Best Buy was one of the worst. I was like, this is gonna be so bad, because everybody got in on Target beforehand. Like you said earlier, Best Buy was late. Walmart, you secured yours, but Walmart was like sort of this in between, because it kept going in and out of stock on Walmart. You had to try to get the bundle one, you had to try to get the regular one, as Wally said before, and you just had to keep trying, and it was going in, out, in, out. Best Buy was the queue, and so it was kicking us out. I got kicked out 3 or 4 times, and then it said it was sold out, and so I was really sad and everything like that. I was congratulating Wally, but I was like, I'm cooked, and Wally was super sweet. He said, I really, truly hope that you get yours. I truly do. And finally, I have an app that tracks this stuff. And so I actually sent Wally the name of it, but it's called Hot Stock. And so it sounds like a stupid fucking name, but Hot Stock. I do this for Pokemon cards. And so it said Best Buy, like Nintendo Switch Mario Kart World Bundle, Best Buy, be quick. And so I did it, and I got in the queue, and the queue was so fast that time. Right? So Wally, the queue feels like you're waiting in there forever, blah, blah. Not this time around. So it was like, yeah, Best Buy did sell out, but then they just kind of allocated some more, I think it's just, again, like, what is actually going on? Best Buy is a big company. Can't they figure this out? But no, they can't figure this out. And so, like, the system was so wonky that I did it. And it's not shipping. Like, it's actually pre-ordered to a store. I have the store location. I know where I got it and stuff. Like, I was very deliberate. Everything worked how it should that time around. I just had to go through all the drama. This was seriously like close to 1:30, 2 a.m.
Yeah, it was all. Yeah.
Like, and for Wally, that would be 3:30 a.m. Wally's on a different time zone. And so, like, I'm in Central Time. And so, like, that was crazy to me that somehow I got it at Best Buy. That was my store of choice because I said, if all this doesn't go down right, I'm going to go to GameStop. And I thought I would have to camp in line with a bunch of people that I'd have to hold my finger up under their nose for them to smell vagina. You know what I mean? Like, I thought these people were going to be camped out since, like, 4 a.m. But thank the Lord I didn't have to, dude. I have the email. I have everything I need. I have the app, so, like, I've got the email in there. Not email. I have the receipt in there. Everything is locked in. And, I'm going to do the midnight release. But that was my kind of crazy story, is I was trying everything. And, again, I felt like a battle-hardened person because I was just like, yeah, I know this is exactly how it goes with Pokemon cards. It's just kind of worse because the stock is so low.
Yeah.
So, like, Pokemon cards, they'll stock, some, and then when they do a like a restocking in the moment, like Best Buy did, as I'm explaining, it'll just be one literal product. So, like, I guess they just found one product that didn't get listed. How does that work? Like, how does that even happen? I don't know, but it's seriously just one. And that because these people that give you, like, the apps, hot stock, or a Discord server, I'm in a Discord server that shows, like, when products, the Discord server has a bot that pings the listing, right? So it pings the website, Best Buy, let's say, or Walmart. And when it pings it, they know how many are allocated in an approximate way, I think. I don't know if it's exact, but, like, let's say Target, you can drop down the little thing that says you have one, or do you want to buy 3? So, like, the bot will drop down the menu. It can give you all the options. So if it's like 9 are available to buy, the bot can tell. Right? So what I'm saying is that it's very likely that there's like 1 or 3 products at a time of Pokemon cards when it does sort of a quick restocking after the restock. So just like I mentioned to Wally, just like I'm mentioning on this discussion right now, this rant, is that, like, Best Buy, it seemed like it was sold out and then it came back, right? So if that was Pokemon cards, it would have come back with just like 1 or 2, That would have been ass.
Man, remember me telling you, like, I'm like, my adrenaline is like, it was so high.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But the thing was, though, and I couldn't rest until I knew you had yours. I really couldn't.
That's really sweet. That's really very nice of you.
Like, and that's the honest, like, truth, dude. And then when you told me you got yours, I was like, yes. I'm so happy, like, he got it. And then that's when we find out Target was giving those cancellation emails. And I was like, crap, I hope the same thing does not happen for Walmart. And so far, so good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I truly hate it for the people that really did what they were supposed to do. That's really trying to just get their copy, not trying to be a freaking scalper and whatnot. You know what I mean? And, that really just...
They're legit.
And really, like, got up there on time and tried to get theirs. And I really feel bad for those people. But, I hope they, and I know it's easier for me to say, but I really hope that, they don't pay, like, freaking thousands of dollars for it. Like, they hold out and put theirs, you know what I mean? Because it's crazy for people to do that.
Yes, this system of, like, scalping and whatnot, it would not work if people didn't do it, like if people didn't buy it. So that's the problem, is people are buying it. So Pokemon cards, you might pay like $50 for the big box or $60 nowadays because they increased the prices. But then people will seriously buy it for like $120 or $150. I'm like, dude, that's like 2/3 times the price? Holy. You know,
Yeah.
like the economy's not good enough for people to keep doing this. And you know why? Because then you see that the distribution on Pokemon cards, they start charging more because they're like, oh, so motherfuckers will pay $120 for this box. All right. So then they start charging more. So it's just, this is a system that will eat the regular consumer. You know, the Wally Wins, the Dr. K. It'll eat us.
Right.
And anyone legit who wanted it that you were just talking about before, who you truly feel for. And I understand that. And so Switch 2, I guess I have a question for you is, do you feel that, are we discussing like first world problems? Or do you think this is like actually kind of a more legit issue? Meaning, does this kind of affect people? Like, I feel like this affects people's behavior, their mindset, you know? This creates a consumer mindset that's like, you have to get it immediately or else you're just like done. You can't enjoy things. Like, is that first world problems or is that like a real thing?
You know, okay. For me, maybe first world problem. But for you and like content creators, like I feel like this was really a problem. You know,
it's your livelihood. Yeah.
Yeah, for real. Like with me, if I didn't get it, then it wasn't the end. Like I won't say be end of the world for other people too, but like it's not my job. It's for my leisure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whenever it, of course, I really wanted it because it's something that I truly enjoy and I love Nintendo. I love Mario Kart. But it was something that if it didn't happen, it was like, oh well, okay, later date. Next time. For me, disappointed, sure, but it wasn't going to affect my livelihood in no type of way. You know what I mean? But yeah, for content creators, absolutely, for sure.
I think it's also extremely torturous if you're like a creator and you see other people are able to create, but you don't even have access to something. Yeah. And so I used to be upset about that when like Pikmin 3 on the Wii U would come out like a month early in the UK or something, EU's regions, and we wouldn't get it in America for a long time, remember? Like, yeah. And so it was like a month later. So that's like really a torture if you're a creator and you're like, okay, so everyone else has access, but not me. Like I can't even get access to it. That is tough.
Yeah. It like just going back and looking at it now, it's like, damn, that was wild. Because like I said, I've been through the only time I've been through something like and it was nowhere near as bad as this. But you remember when the Wii was first released?
Yes.
And for those who don't know, I'm from a small country town, and the Walmart there, people were waiting outside, but people didn't like literally like camp out at like at Walmart there. It wasn't even a super center yet. It was just a regular Walmart.
Oh,
and
boy.
This was right. And so I remember going out there like 2 hours early, and people were already out there, and I'm like, in a small town, you kind of familiar. You don't know everyone, but you kind of familiar with people.
Yeah.
I remember like one guy, because I was in college then. So I remember like one guy from high school. We weren't close to anything, but we spoke and whatnot. And it was a few other people out there, I think, that came back from like nearby counties or whatnot, and I guess guessing that they would have a better chance coming there to get theirs.
Wow.
And I just this one particular person, because I came out there later than them. They were like, well, if you don't have a number, like you can at least get on the wait list. You just stay back there. And she was just sometimes the loudest people are the most problematic. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And, well, yeah, because he doesn't have a number, so he would not be getting the win. And I'm like, I'm not out here trying to jump the line or anything, But the loudest person, then me and this other guy, though, her card, surprise, surprise, her card declined, and then somebody else's did, and me and this other guy were able to get our weed. That was the only time I ever like camped out. Well, I didn't even camp out, but like dealt with like that type of thing for waiting for a new system. With the Wii U, I was working full time, at the college. Then I'm still in my small country town, and I had to travel like to where I live now, which is like an hour away from there. Is a bigger city to the GameStop here. That was like one of the closest GameStops or the one in either one. I came to one, here where I live now, and I was able to come after work. I mean, got here probably 6:30. Went to GameStop and said, "Hey, I want to pre-order the Wii U." No problem. You know what I mean? And the Wii sold pretty damn well. But and you remember the Wii, you had the two, it was the white one and the black one,
Yep.
because one of them had like more like
Yes.
space or what.
The black one's 32 gig. Yeah.
Right. And no problem at all. I was able to walk in there, like I said, late in the evening, after work.
Yeah.
Like hour drive later, I was able to no problem at GameStop. And with the Switch, same thing. Like I was working that day, but I had a boss that was very cool, and she was just like, yeah, if you want to take extended lunch, early lunch, go ahead. You know what I mean? I was able to go to GameStop, pre-order, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I was thinking I was probably have that same
Experience.
But and I guess from what I was, reading and stuff that I was hearing, like some people that went to GameStop, and I guess it's depending on where you live, and I feel like
Yep.
here probably wouldn't be too bad either. They actually were just able to go in, get theirs, and no problem.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like the people that were trying to do it online had more issues, but if they went to the store, it seemed like it was it was
Calmer.
pretty easy.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, so let's go. I'm going to try to quickly tell my Wii story. So this was really cool because I was the second person in line to get the Wii. And so the cool thing was, like, I'm so spoiled with that because my friend, lifelong friend, he was the first person in line because he was one of them fools that was camping for a long time. Not camping, but he was hanging out there for a long time. And he was like, yeah, I have your spot right behind me, And so I was like, oh, okay, nice. And so I strolled over there and waited. I didn't just wait till like 20 minutes before, like I actually strolled over there hours before and waited too. But yeah, that was very nice of him. So that was how I got it second. But that was just at GameStop and stuff. And I had a pre-order, so you had to have that to get it really on that launch midnight release. And so then the Wii U is exactly right. Like you could get it easy. And I want to clear something up because like I saw some people tweeting. There was somebody that put out a tweet that was talking about like, you guys have to be careful with the Switch 2. This still could very much be a bad situation for the Switch 2 and Nintendo. They may not, profit. They may not do very good with it because the Wii U sold out everywhere too. And look at how bad it did. The pre-order sold out. No, they didn't. At GameStop, you could stroll in there without a pre-order and get it. That should tell you one thing. And I live in a big city, dude. Like, I'm in a big city, so of course it would be bought up if it was desirable. Now, I love the Wii U, so, like, this is not a reflection on my personal beliefs, because the Wii U is my second favorite console probably of all time, so this is not my personal beliefs, but the beliefs of people were very different than the Switch 2. So the Wii U, my story is that I did have a pre-order, and I asked the GameStop employee there a few days before, I was like, dude, do you think are you gonna have a midnight release? And they, like, laughed. They were like, oh, no. I was like, oh, okay, well, do I have to get here, like, super early? They're like, I mean, you can, but you probably don't have to. Right. And so I did. Like, I got there a few hours early, or maybe an hour early or something, and there was one other person for the Wii U that was ahead of me. That was it. And then there was one person that came up behind me as the store opened. Everybody got their Wii U that wanted one, is the point. Whereas Switch 2, there's no story like that where it's like everybody got one that wanted one. No, like there are people that want one that don't have one right now. So we need to be very clear that tweet is definitely wrong.
and look at the numbers that they said that they have available. Millions. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's the difference too. People want this.
People want this, and Wally and I commented in our messenger talk. We were saying, I was like, all these lying hoes, because what happened to the people that was saying this Nintendo is so greedy, this price is never going to be accepted, And to me, I do not like the concept of an $80 game. Who the fuck does? You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is that Mario Kart definitely will get $80 out of me. That worth is absolutely. Now, I did get the bundle, so let's keep in mind, I only paid $50 for it technically. I mean, plus tax or whatever. Yeah, so the point being, no, I do not like the precedent of setting, an $80 game or whatever, but the point of bringing all this up again to round this back out is Wally and I were talking, and I was like, dude, that these people is a bunch of hoes because they complain and they trash Nintendo. It was left and right. Everyone's talking about Nintendo, so shitty. Dude, when Reggie Fils-Aimé was working at the company, I think that's who we need right now, because if Reggie was still working here, he really would have the market set for the West. Americans would understand a lot more what the value prop is if Reggie was explaining it, because he was a genius. Do you remember, Wiley? Like, I showed you them interviews and stuff. They were talking to him about the Wii on G4 with Kevin Pereira, and it was like the E3 show on G4, and Kevin was interviewing him, and he said, like, you know, Nintendo is always going to be the company that you'll be able to pre-order it and still have cash in your pockets, you know? So, like, the Wii was the true valuation. Same with Wii U. These were, and I think the Switch, actually, the Switch 1, you know what I'm saying? You know why people don't like it now is because, for one, everybody's online now, like, for sure, so everybody's just bitching. Like, it's just a bitch fest. You know how this goes. If you're online, this is just how it goes. People complain. So that aside, you know, we haven't exactly had the greatest feelings in any of our pockets. You know, everybody here in the United States and probably other parts of the world, but definitely the U.S., we are hurting economically. And so, yes, nobody fucking likes the price no matter what it is, probably.
That is the truth. And
so I think if Reggie was here to kind of explain it a little bit better, I do think the message would land with more people. I'm not going to say everyone, but like I think he would do a better job of explaining it. Which takes me, unless you want to comment on that, Wally, did you have anything to say about that?
The only thing I was going to say is, you know, I'm not saying people don't have the right to criticize. You know what I mean? Yes, you know, I guess when like the $80 game, I think it kind of, you know, people were taken aback from that. And, you know, they were like, well, you know, feel like we had to drop the prices Mario Kart. But then, you know, I'm not saying you don't have the right for them to receive some type of criticism, but it was the way they were saying it. You know what I mean? Like, we're not getting that. We're not buying that. We're not, and I bet you some of the loudest ones in the comments were the ones that was sitting there trying to get theirs. You know what I mean?
Yes, and then the people that tweet, okay, well, good job, you motherfuckers. Now we have $80 games set. You know, like, so then there's people on the other side of the fence that are like, you should have boycotted this, you should have not done it. So the thing is, everybody should have a right to buy it if they want to, or not buy it if they want to. If it's legit, again, we're not talking about a scalper situation where you're paying like 140, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're trying to be realistic here. So there's a neutral or more of like a balanced ground we could look at this from. And to me, again, I would not buy like Donkey Kong Bonanza. First off, I'm not even getting that game. I don't have any interest. I don't want it, but I wouldn't buy that if it was 80, you know what I'm saying? Right. Like, I would absolutely buy Mario Kart at $80, and I didn't have to because I got the bundle.
Right.
I would absolutely.
And I'm thinking about how, you know, of course we don't know fully exactly what the game is, but from what I'm seeing, it's an open world Mario Kart game.
Yeah.
Everything that like, you know, your regular Mario Kart was what, $60 Mario Kart Deluxe?
I think so, probably at the time. Yeah.
So, you know, it's a bigger experience. You know what I mean? And who knows what, you know, if, you know, they come out like any free DLC. I'm not saying tracks, but like, you know, maybe like certain costumes or, you know, characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. That comes up the road, and I think people just easily criticize Nintendo because they don't look at them as a powerful system, and they always want to say, you know, they shouldn't charge this much. They're not PlayStation, they're not Xbox, but I mean, you know, it's better technology. You know what I mean? I feel like the price of the system was really reasonable for sure. You know what I mean?
I think so, personally. There's other people that probably don't, but I think so. I think most people were upset, though. If they were upset about anything, it was the game's prices.
Yeah.
I think that
right.
If it was anything. Some people complain about the system, too, probably. The thing is, someone's going to be like, oh, boo-hoo, you're just riding Nintendo's dick. Sure, like, I love Nintendo, so yeah, of course I'm, like, riding on them. Yes, I'll admit it. But I like to think that I'm more sensible than that. It's just that when I think about it, Nintendo does actually usually not make money on their hardware. Usually the console. I don't know about controllers and stuff, accessories, but I know that consoles traditionally they have not actually gotten a profit. Someone's gonna be like, "You're wrong." Like I saw this article on. Okay, this is just from Nintendo's mouth. You know, they have to reveal this stuff to shareholders who ask. You know what I mean? Like they have shareholders who ask these kind of questions. So like, I actually own Nintendo stock. I've never been in a shareholder call myself. myself, but like I've read the transcripts, right? You know, but I actually like own Nintendo stock and stuff. I'm invested in this. So anyway, the point is that they're still, I think, going to be not really making it on the console itself. It's all about the value prop in the software. And Reggie said it so great as well. Reggie's value proposition with the Wii U, when Jeff Keighley was asking him, he looked like he wanted to chokeslam Jeff, by the way, which Jeff was deserving of it, I think. I'm not a huge fan of Jeff Keighley, but he was like really pushing the limits on this interview with him. They kind of had that relationship, though. They were like bashing each other all the time. But okay, that's a tangent. Reggie said it the best, which was a slogan, essentially, where he just said, Jeff's like, so what do you tell people who have the option to play, you know, PlayStation and Xbox? They're going to be coming out, blah, blah, blah. And Reggie was just like, play the games. Play the games. You know, like that's what he said. Because Wii U, it did. For all the people that want to knock the Wii U, you know that those games all sold really well when the Switch came out and they ported it to that. So yes, we can argue the process of the Wii U and how they should have marketed it, blah, 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 blah. All the stuff of why the Wii U failed, but you know that those games did awesome. Case in point, Mario Kart Deluxe, right? That's the best-selling Mario Kart of all time, isn't it? I think. Point being now to say is that the reason I say this is because, like, the games are actually worth, I think, what they charge most of the time. I'm not going to say 100% of the time because, like, for instance, there's that game tour, like the little tour thing for Switch 2. They should not charge for that. They should have taken a page out of Reggie's book and done Wii Sports for free, packaged in. Remember that? So that was Reggie Fils-Ami's idea in the West, was to package Wii Sports in. You get it for free if you buy a Wii. So they should have done that with this. They should have done that. I'm not paying no $10 for some tour game that looks like shit. So again, you know, yeah, not 100%.
Smart. It was such a smart thing too, because a lot of people like loved it for just Wii Sports. You know what I mean? Like especially the people like bowling and stuff. Like they really like. Even my parents, like not gamers by any means, but my mom, she really like enjoyed the Wii Sports. Like she really did.
Yeah, and my dad used to come into my room, like, when I had to move back home, like, during the summer for college, you know, when, like, get out of the apartments there at college. But my dad was like, do you want to play some tennis? You know, like, and my dad doesn't play video games, you know.
So, you know, it was just, people bought the Wii just for that. You know what I mean? And even though this game is not like Wii Sports, but it should have been, like you said, I agree with you 100%. It should have been included, for sure. Yeah,
if not packaged in, there should have been a deal with this Mario Kart bundle that it was packaged in with that one.
Right.
Or like $199 maybe. I don't think I would still buy it then, to be honest. I don't think I'd spend a penny on this fucking game. But like I'm saying that at least like a value prop of $199, that's about where it should be. That's my belief. Someone could say like, no, this game's awesome. That's great. You know, I would love if someone has a different opinion than me, but I think a lot of people probably feel the same way. So anyway, we've covered so much. I think the other thing to say about it is that we talked about this briefly when we were starting, is that leading up to this, you are right to say, well, that it was kind of messy. This is very, to me, unlike Nintendo. Not all the time. Like sometimes their communication's a little messy. As I said before, they're either very specific or they're just like super ambiguous and you don't know which Nintendo you're gonna get sometimes. The thing is, oh man, sorry, I have to cough. This was absolutely on the down in history as some of the worst like communicating, and it's because they did not come out and just like say the price, you know, like to do the Switch 2 reveal direct, not the very first like 30-second reveal, but like the Switch 2 direct on April 2nd. To do that and then just end, it was so weird. Like that was the clunkiest thing of my life, and I told you right after it was done, I was like, they should have said the price. Like, you know, because
it set up for rumors, though. People that, oh, it's going to be this price, and it's going to be, for sure.
Yeah, because then everybody's information can run with it. And then they weren't clear when they did start talking about prices. They weren't clear about, like, is digital, like, the same price or not? Like, it started to get all those rumors and that misinformation, like, going, which, by the way, I guess just to clear that up, like, the game is $80, you know, it's not $90. Like, people were saying Mario Kart physical was going to be $90.
Yes.
Yeah, and so it's like Nintendo really, I think it's people who spread disinformation are like slightly at fault, but Nintendo could have gotten in the mix of that. How could they have done it? They could have also said this. If they did not know, let's say someone's like, you suck, Dr. Kendo, the Trump and the tariffs, blah, 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 like, you know, any uncertainty. Yes, I agree with you, but here's how you communicate that is something along the lines of, we are aware that the situation is uncertain right now, so we're not going to reveal official pricing until we've had a chance, blah, 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 right? So if they would have said something like that, it would have let people stop instead of being like, no, they said this, or no, this was the price. You know, like it was so ambiguous. It was so muddy. Like it was just muddled and muddy. And so then it was worse because then they're like, okay, yeah, your pre-orders are now. And then they had to delay it. And so like, you know, you didn't know when it was going to be delayed to, and you didn't know if they was going to increase the price. You know, like it was just, they were not communicative. They were very ambiguous.
And I feel like if they were up front with the price in the beginning, and then, you know, with the tariffs and stuff, yeah, that's kind of out of their control.
Yeah.
Then, you know, I feel like the blow would have been a lot lighter, and the criticism and whatnot of it. But yeah, man, it was messy, and you know, like we were ready, like to pre-order. You know, we were ready, and but. In the long run, I think you know what people used to say, like bad publicity is good publicity. Like any type of publicity, I guess, can work.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that's not the case all the time, but
yeah,
you know, like, in this case, it kind of worked for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's that band called the Insane Clown Posse. Like, they were saying not all bad press is good press, because, like, what if you get press that's coming out saying you're, like, a racist, you know? And, like, that's what they were trying to say about the Insane Clowns and stuff. That's a really weird example, I know, but I remember hearing that, like, in the old days when they were against Eminem.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, so it's like, because people, especially if you start hearing somebody racist, like, that ain't good press in any stretch of the way. But... yeah, so the point, that's a very weird point, though, but yeah, to me, I agree with you, Wally, that it could have brought some, like, attention to the whole thing, you know, and it might have made this be, like, this shiny object that you must have now. Like, I can get that perspective. I really don't think that it was the better option, let's say, if you are Nintendo. I'm talking about from their perspective. Like, I just think the best thing for them would have been to be at least slightly more clear, but probably way more clear.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree.
Again, I am very aware I'm an idiot, but like I'm not completely dumb. I'm not like dickless useless. You know, I have a brain, so like I certainly get that there are unknown variables like the tariffs that we said and stuff. We don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. I'm saying that you can communicate things. You know, there's always a way. Companies fucking make their living, you know, having communication departments, like people that craft, you know, a message behind whatever scenario is happening in the markets. You know, this shit happens all the time, right?
Right.
And so I think customers don't like that feeling of like, you know, are we being like lied to? Are we being misled? Like, they really don't like that kind of like ambiguity and stuff.
Right.
They'll be cool, like Wally was saying earlier. They'll be kind of cool if you just like explain it and do have to say like, we do have to increase the prices. They'll be upset, but they like probably will be more likely to forgive you if you were like kind of upfront about it.
Yes.
A little bit more. Some people not, but yeah. Like everything you and me say right now, it sounds a little like extreme sometimes when we're saying something. Like, I always mean to like add a balance here. Like, there's a balance, right? Yeah. You know,
sure.
We don't mean the exact extremes.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And man, it's just, you know, I laugh about it now, but you know, at the moment, it was just, it was madness. It was insane.
I mean, people shouldn't have to go through that. Like, I do understand the perspective of it being like a first world problem, but at the same time, like, people should not. Between Nintendo, between Walmart, between Target, Best Buy, somebody should have had a system in place that was like, this is how we're gonna do it, you know? Like, instead it was mass chaos. It was the Hunger Games.
Like Kit and Crystal said, it is 2025. Their technology,
Yeah.
it should have just been better. You know, it should be able to handle this type of stuff now.
Yeah, that's why, to your point, the people that went in person to GameStop and like secured it, it felt so much more like there was a system in place. Because on one hand there was, but on another hand it was like, they handed out papers that had like, it was a printout that said, you know, here's the price of each thing, you know, here's what's included in it. Like, it was like very short little like brief things that this is what yours is. And so like, apparently, I think if you had like the Mario Kart World bundle at a bigger store, I think with like a lot of customers, they assigned you to like a color right when you walk up to the register or whatever. They knew which one you were pre-ordering. It was like really organized. They had a system.
Man, it was insane. It was
Yeah, and so that's why I still don't feel fully safe, you know, like, but I did mostly good. I might call Best Buy and just be like, yo, like, I pre-ordered it. Does that mean I'm like guaranteed, you know, or do I still need to be camping out at... Now listen, Wally, I'm gonna get there early. I'm not just strolling up at midnight, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna get there early, but I'm just wondering, do I need to be there 7 hours early, you know? But I have a pre-order. You know, so I think I gotta call Best Buy, maybe my specific store, and like ask them, hey, like, is this an actual like guarantee? You know, if I had the pre-order, do I walk away with it?
I mean, and it looks like, you know, I think I saw a clip, I forgot who I was watching, but like somebody looked like they may have stolen one already.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I saw that too. It was like filmed from above, like they had it on a table or something. Yeah.
That's crazy. You know, it's crazy. So yeah, but I'm trying to stay positive. I'm trying to say I'm locked in. I know I keep saying that.
Yeah, we'll kind of end this on a positive note, I guess. You're right. Like, I think you and I are set, and we'll cover on this channel, we'll cover Mario Kart World 2, of course. And so, yeah, like, just like we're playing Mario Kart 8. So, yeah, man, I thank you so much for your kindness, Wally. That was really sweet of you to be like, man, I really hope he gets his. I can't rest till he gets his. I got it, so...
And thank you for, like, again, for your encouragement for me to stick with it.
Always. I'm here for you. And so thank you, everyone who listened to us rant for about an hour. So, yeah, we really appreciate it. Hope you got your Switch 2. Peace.
Yes.